else on my server that the reason why he got
hold on.
moved is
Before we even
because
start, where is Nuclear? Why is he not coming in now?
let's see. Nuclear is offline, and he said he's never gonna come on anything.
What?
And that pretty much.
What?
Alright, here's the thing, right? Is Nuclear said that pretty much I'm not coming on the Medicare cast. That's fine, but like he's now involving like legal shit on every. Dude, I don't want to take that risk and be fucking legally fucked.
What is this? What? Well, hold on. We're gonna get to that in a minute because you just implied a lot of shit there. But why is it that Nuclear keeps dodging everyone?
I have no idea. Like I told Nuclear, if you could carry out with your threats, then fine.
Okay. So you told him that you want him to carry out his threats?
No, I'm telling him, if you can do it, then do it. Prove me wrong that
I just
pretty
don't
much
understand this guy. This guy talked so much shit and tested the waters in so many different areas. He called out like 8chan, he called out 4chan, he called out Kiwi Farms and Null specifically. He called out Mr. Medicare Jim. He called out everybody. This is the biggest pussy. He would claim he's going to call the police, and in the same fucking sentence, he would also claim that he was going to threaten to harass you and harm you in some type of way, whether it was through the internet or in real life, repeatedly. How in the fuck?
Here's the thing, right?
Okay.
Is Nuclear pretty much like? I don't know. I'm neutral with Nuclear.
You're
I'm just
neutral.
saying right now.
You're neutral with that guy?
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
But it's only neutral
retarded.
though. It's not like
What?
That's retarded. You should be against him.
Look, I could probably say, and I think Gerpy probably agree with me.
If he makes a hack threat towards me, then I'll be against him. But...
Okay, so you need. Okay, let me ask you this question because
he's only neutral towards him because he's afraid that Nuclear is going to hack him.
Okay.
If he turns again.
Ross, let me ask you this question. So I had to give people an up to speed thing. So I played my old video, Edgelords on a Hunt. Nothing against you guys, but just so people had an understanding of the people and the individual.
Oh, by the way, when you were playing that, you also featured the part with Puck. So
yes, that was.
There you go. He has no right to speak about me now.
Yes, we established yesterday with Jim that you have a group of individuals you hang out with that are pedophiles. That's why Jim asked if you understand that you might run a fucking pedo ring.
I don't. I would go that far.
Like, oh God, like what?
So okay,
that's terrible.
How is it that there was something that was said that I've heard repeatedly in your guys' group? When I talked to Puck, he said something similar. He said that if they don't fuck with me and that they don't do things to me, that it is okay. That I'm okay with allowing them the platform or areas around me that they can do and things to other people that are fucking off-putting or abhorrent to many people. So why would you say you're neutral with Nuclear when this guy has decided to use your name to run a fucking train across the worst people to fuck with on the internet? Like, down the list. Right?
I don't know. I don't agree with what. Like I said, I'm gonna right now say it right now. I do not condone what Nuclear's done, and I do not endorse in what Nuclear's done. That's the thing.
Okay, so then why are you associating yourself with him still?
I don't know. I didn't remove him from my friends list just automatically, but sooner or later, dude. Like, I'm sorry, but like. If Nuclear's watching this, dude, you got to encounter Gerpy.
I'm sure he is.
I don't care if he. I don't care who's. If you think Gerpy is 100% in the wrong or not, I don't care. If you think that.
He wasn't playing with the boys. That's what it was. Speaking of which, yeah. So Nuclear talks a boatload of shit, and he dodges everyone. And I think Gerpy, you probably could agree with me on this. I think that. How's it going, Siebel? I think that I wouldn't be surprised if when this Hugbox Chronicle comes out. Of course, it's going to cover you and Ruby here, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of it's focused on Nuclear's pussy antics at all. But you got a lot of shit going on here. So, like, you did your stuff last night with Jim, right? Well, let's back this up. Let's back this up a couple days ago, right in the beginning. So people see the Brightside Viking thread getting traction on the cow board and on Kiwi farms, and people's reactions were to which even Null stated he thought this true. He said this on the forums as well. He said it seemed like the anti-DSP community people that are around see that after the Zach Lawless thread and the Brightside Viking thread did so well that they should start outing other cows within the DSP stuff. And so they made a thread on you. And your reaction to the thread is kind of what sparked everyone else to kind of get involved. Right? We talked about that earlier. You remember that?
Yeah, I mean...
Right. So that's the beginning of it all. And then after all that, you decided to do a live stream and bunch of bullshit. Everybody starts archiving what you're doing. And then from there, you get involved in deleting your stuff and everybody, posting it everywhere. So now more people are start seeing it. I mean, on Jim's stream last night, I'm pretty sure, or maybe it was your stream, Gerpy. I'm pretty sure I saw people like Hellbent was in there. I saw Sargon of Akkad in there at one point. I saw Mundane Matt. I saw Your Movie Sucks. I mean, you had prominent YouTubers who normally would never be involved in any of this shit, knew who you guys were actively watching the shit that coming out of your guys' mouth and actively watching what was happening, right? So you've made it from a speck on the internet to every major YouTuber knows who you are in one go. And I guess from there, you'd think that maybe you'd probably cut ties with some of the people you might be involved in to try to reel back some of the damage that's been laid out already, right? Like Nuclear, for instance, as that guy has used your name to fucking run a train on everyone he's ran across.
Yeah. That was kind of great. That was kind of like fucking, yeah.
Right. So I guess with that being said, Roz, we're not even gonna get into the pedophile stuff yet. Let's jump into your stream with Jim, okay? Not the one I was in, but the one after that, on the Meadowcast. All right, Nuclear was supposed to go on, and that's who I really wanted to talk to because this little pussy, he's got a lot of shit. So, but Nuclear was supposed to go on. You come on instead with Ruby, and the first thing you guys discuss is the pedophile stuff, okay, and the child stuff. And you kind of drop the ball and you talk about your other friends who seem to also be active pedophiles or hebophiles, and the people that you associate yourself around are involved into it. And
not anymore.
Okay, that's not anymore. That's fine, right? And Jim allegedly said you might have a pedophile ring within your community that you might not know about or might not be noticeable about, right? And then Ruby, you kindly defended him on this topic. Actually, you defended Ross a lot. And we kind of talked about that a bit. Why do you feel the need to defend Ross all the time?
Because I know he's done nothing wrong, and he's my friend, and I'm a loyal friend.
So Ross didn't do nothings, essentially.
The allegations of him being a pedophile, he hasn't done anything wrong.
So you think it's all alleged, and why do you think that?
I think it's alleged because there's no real evidence he actually looked up child porn or had a relationship with.
What about his own
underage
testimonies?
Girl. That wasn't illegal, and he explained.
We're not talking about the
but
legalities of it yet. We're not even there. Like,
continue.
Ross never admitted that he owns and distributes child porn. What Ross stated, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ross stated that he, on a weekly basis for a year now, has actively looked at naked children taking baths. And that he finds them cute and fun to look at. Okay? His reasoning is hard to justify with the statements he's making. So, we're not talking about the legalities. I don't know if he owns or distributes child porn. But what we are talking about is the statements made by Ross himself and how you seem to think that it's defendable. And so how is it allegedly so if he's saying that he is doing these things?
I didn't say him looking that up is alleged. I'm
Okay.
saying him being a pedophile is alleged.
Okay. Well, do you how? Okay, if that's the case, either you or Ross maybe can try to explain to me, and maybe everybody else listening, how is it then? What's the other side of the coin? How can you convince somebody that this doesn't sound like somebody who might be into children?
That's a hard thing to do nowadays because people see children
Well,
as innocent.
people tend to throw around the word pedophile like it's free candy these days.
I'm not calling you one. I'm asking her to explain exactly how you can allegedly say, or how it's an alleged, like what's the other side of the coin that makes it to where it's just skepticism and that it's just all smoke and mirrors and it's not actually true. When you yourself, Ross, have said these things actively and gone as far as to say that you do this on a weekly basis, that you actively look at children, but you swear you never touch yourself to them. That's you. You know.
Yeah.
Like I was saying before, sure it sounds weird to a lot of people when you put it the way you did, like, oh, I'm looking at naked kids in a tub. Yeah.
That's what he said.
It's not. Yeah, that sounds weird, but
Okay.
But I see it in another way. I see it like, yeah, he wants to have kids, and he probably didn't even see it as something dirty or something like.
Normally, when people want to have children of their own, right? Like I want to have kids, right, of my own. I want to have 4 kids exactly, and I have never once thought about looking at children on a weekly basis naked in different scenarios and thought that was cute and fun, and that's how I want to see my kids. I don't think the majority of people can say that.
I know that, and like the thing is that if anything, like I don't know, like to be honest with you, like the very fact is that I didn't know that there was, several pedophile rings of all places is on YouTube, pretty much.
We're not even talking about the conspiracy theories behind the whole YouTube pedo. I know what you're talking about. The pedo ring YouTube conspiracies. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your statements. These are things that you said. These are things that you advocated, and then on top of that, you have people you used to hang out with in your terms. You used to recently cut ties with.
What you mean people? You mean people like I like funny videos 505 or
I don't know.
15?
All I know is you named a couple people on a stream to the point where Jim was thought that it sounded like you were talking about you had a pedophile ring within your group that you might not be so much aware of, or you might be downplaying a little bit.
Well, the thing is, I used to be just friends with them, and then afterwards, pretty much,
Right. I want to get back to Ruby for a minute because there's something important that I brought up to you earlier that before we even started this when I was talking to you. You. So I try to explain to you that you're into what's called the little kink, and that there's people who believe that the reason why you see it in another light is because it is your sort of fetish, that you enjoy pretending to be little or childlike around people who like children. And that's a kink. That's a real kink. You told me that, right?
Yes, it's a real kink, but
and you're into little. Pedophile.
Yes, I'm into little.
Okay.
But people who are into littles, a lot of them are not pedophiles. It's more of a fantasy.
Okay.
Because the person is actually grown.
I'm not calling you a pedophile. What you're saying essentially is you're into a kink where you like to fantasize that you're a child to an adult. Correct?
Yes.
Right. And you're hanging out with people that Ross has admittedly stated that other people that he's been around, you've been around, that are active pedophiles and hebephiles. And Ross is making statements that sound like something a person who owns child porn and gets off the child porn would own. Not saying that you are doing that, Ross, but it just sounds a lot like it. It's real weird. And then you're defending them without, Jim has said some good points to you, like, would you let Ross watch your kids, or would you say stuff? And you've, reached out to your boyfriend, Brandon, to try to step to the plate because you couldn't say nothing to some of the stuff he was saying because you understood exactly where he was coming from. You're not dumb, you're just naive. And now, you're into a kink fetish where you like to pretend you're a child and get off.
But I haven't told Ross about this fetish before.
There's a recording, though, of you in a live stream with Ross, and you told me earlier, where you mentioned that you were into this little fetish.
Yeah, I did, because I was replying to the comments.
So you told Ross?
I told him on stream, but he wasn't aware of it before.
Okay.
So what you're trying to spin doesn't...
I'm not spinning anything. I'm trying to get an understanding.
Ross, have I ever told you that before? I've never told you most of my kinks, am I correct?
No, not really.
See?
But, I mean, you said you were into Little Kink, but that's really it.
Well, on the stream.
So you have told Ross. There you go. You told Ross you're into Little Kink, which is a fetish that you like to pretend you're a child.
No.
I'm
Ross,
just recapping everything. You've told Ross.
Ross, sorry.
Okay, so Ruby,
I was just to recap. Clarify. Ross, I told you I have the emotional maturity of a child.
Okay, that's fine, but let's back this up. I want to recap. You've told Ross on a live stream and behind closed doors, as Ross just stated, that you are into a fetish called Little that involves you liking to pretend you're a child to adults, and that you get off on that, whether it's fantasy or not. That's a side point. You admitted that. And you have a guy here who has some speculations going on about child pornography, looking at children on a weekly basis that are naked and finding it cute and fun, whatever the reason may be. And then this person also goes on another live stream yesterday and outs out supposedly multiple of his friends, or former friends, however you want to do it, they're recently cut ties with, who are hebephiles and active pedophiles, to the point where the host of the live stream asked you flat out that, do you know if you're running a pedophile ring, because it sounds like it. And you're bringing up conversations of these pedophile YouTube videos and the pedophile YouTube video conspiracy theories and how you're actively looking at those. It doesn't sound good. And then when you start defending Ross, Ruby, you come off and you mention the little stuff. It's hard to not take that into consideration, that maybe deep down inside you may not be doing that. Maybe you're telling the truth and being face value. I think that you're very naive. I don't think you're dumb. I think that does play a little bit into it, and it makes a lot more sense when you kind of put that into perspective of all the people that you've been around since Ross here and other people have outed them as pedophiles or hebephiles. Yeah. So, I mean, just saying, it really sounds weird. It sounds a little weird. You get that, right?
About the little thing or about the whole thing?
What I just said. The whole thing I just said. You understand where I'm coming from, right?
Yes, I understand where you're coming from, but I honestly don't believe it's connected at all, and I don't remember telling Ross about that.
Ross just told you he remembers it, and you said it to him again on a live stream. You mentioned to him how you're into that. Way before this.
I really don't remember mentioning that, Ross. I really don't.
Okay. So what about nuclear? And you mentioned that fucking pussy. He was supposed to be here. He fucking dodges again. And then, so speaking on behalf of nuclear, I guess, Ross, as much as you can. Nuclear knew about all this stuff, and he called you a pedophile. How long ago was this?
This was like several months ago when you were booting me offline.
Oh, Jim. I'm sorry, Jim. If you're asking where nuclear is, he went offline. He said he wasn't going to come on and talk. He told me, what is it he said, Ross? He said he wasn't going to do this? What did he say?
Yeah, he says he's not coming on any of your live streams or anything.
There you go. That's what his response was after. What a bitch. Anyways, I continuing back on, Ross. I'm sorry. So I don't want to. Let's get off the pedophile stuff for a second, because that's been beaten over days now. Let's take it back, Ross. Nobody's really touched on this. You have an extensive history. I showed it in the beginning with the Edgelords on Hunt video. I made it in the past, where you and Boone and other people you've been friends with have actively gone out of your way to fake accounts, tell people really abhorrent shit. Like I remember, and I remember specifically, with Shadow Raptor, he sent me messages talking about how he was going to skin my dog alive, rape me, rape my wife, and all this other stuff. And then there were screen caps of it coming all out. Then you guys were streaming the stuff and laughing all about it back in the day when all that happened. And I wasn't the first one that happened to you. You've done something similar to Avalanche.
Well,
There's another
Boone's
guy.
in the chat right now acting all innocent like he never did that stuff.
Well, I don't give a fuck because it's already confirmed, right? I made him go and apologize to Heavy Metal Gamer for doing the same thing to Heavy Metal Gamer. He went out of his way on your guys' behalf again. Some reason you guys like to use everybody's name and just tie it all together when you guys do shit and you live stream it. He went out of his way to that Heavy Metal Gamer guy, found out where he worked, let him know where he worked, found out who his girlfriend was, talked about what he wanted to do to his girlfriend in detail to great many lengths, faked that he was actually Heavy Metal Gamer, and tried to ruin friendships by talking a bunch of boatload of shit and dropping his docs everywhere on the internet, hoping somebody would come and hurt him or get him fired.
Yeah, but that was Shadow Raptor. I wasn't involved in that.
Right, but you were definitely streaming all that shit, weren't you? And you were in the same calls with him. I've seen it. That's where I made that Edgelords on a Hunt. It all happened at the same time. But that's just an example. I'm just giving an example that I can relate to because that's the best I can know of. I've seen the stuff you did, the Avalanche guy and his girlfriend. I've seen the stuff that you've done with back and forth between Boone for years. I've seen the stuff with Puck. I've seen the stuff with multiple people. I've seen stuff that you did against the KWO and the SOK, right? You guys did shit to them. And people in the DSP community and all that stuff. How about how Bandit? I wish I could. Actually, you know what, Ross? Let me ask you a question. That's a good question, Jim. Jim wants to know: does Bandit and any of those hacker guys, NSP, do they come on to the Skype or the Discord or wherever you guys discuss your stuff at and hang out with you guys? Have you ever met these people?
I never met them, but
You never met them.
I only met Nuclear
You
on
only met
PSN.
Nuclear. Does Nuclear play? I mean, because I've seen you play PlayStation with them. I'm assuming. Do you play PlayStation with these guys? I mean, what is the history between what is the history between Nuclear and these people? Like, can you?
I mean, like we were starting to play, a bunch of stuff, but then afterwards, like, didn't drama happened. So.
Okay, so you did play video games with these people, so they do exist.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, were you on microphone when you played with these people? Did they tell you about?
Yeah, well, I was chatting with Nuclear and Dwagen. That's really it, really. I wasn't.
And who?
And Dragon, pretty much.
Who's Dragon? I don't know who that is.
Nuclear's friend.
So that's which hacker is that? Bandit?
No, he's not a hacker. Dragon is pretty much.
So what I'm asking is have at the time that you've known Nuclear, which seems to be over a year now, have you ever met or played video games or hung out with this NSP or Bandit guy that he keeps referring to that he knows very fucking well?
I played Miners with Clear and Dwagen several times.
So is Dwagen one of the hackers?
No, he's not a hacker.
Okay, so again, so you said you have nothing to do. You don't know anything about the Bandit guy and all that stuff. Is there any way you can ask him one more time to see if he'll come on, just to try one more time? Because I don't
think so. He's offline.
He's offline now. That's fantastic. What a swell guy. Okay, so all right. So I'm just gonna assume that Bandit and them don't exist, and he's just full of shit like I've been. But with that being said, back onto the topic of your antics and stuff like that. Like you went on. I'll ask him in a bit, Jim. So when you went on the Meadowcast and stuff like that, and then on Gerpy's stream right afterwards, right? There's some things that you kept saying repeatedly, and people kept defending you on, and you would be quiet about, which was victimization, right? You kept saying you were slow, you had autism. Ruby, you said the same thing to me. He's slow, he has autism, you can't interpret him right, this and that, right? And yet, I play a video in the beginning showing you doing really terrible things to people, live streaming your own face, saying some of the things you're going to do to people, faking accounts, death threats, doxing. There was talks about even swatting some SOK members back in 2016 from conversations between Boone and another person, you and another person. I've got that all logged. And I think that person was TXT, if I recall, as you guys doxed the shit out of TXT at the time.
Well, Boone doxed.
Right.
Not really. I was
No?
involved with the
You
Saints.
sure about that?
I was involved with the Saints, not with Boone.
You weren't involved in any of that, even though I'm telling you right now that the logs exist and that Boone knows about the logs and all that bullshit.
Well, yeah.
I've shown
I
him.
mean, Boone was involved, but I mean, back then, I was talking with Jetrex, Neil, and like Moon, and like pretty much Kuro, and etc. Like,
Right, but you were also talking to Boone and involved in all this shit because I've seen it. Like I've seen it. Other people have seen it. Other people
only
that
thing
involved
that I've
in
done
it. It's open.
Here's the thing. The only thing that I've been like involved in is like when it was doxing Funny, pretty much, and it was like I gave Funny's phone number to
So
Boone.
you never
Boone
said you were going to
leaked it.
dox Avalanche and his girlfriend and said that you knew where they lived and you were going to come there and hurt them on video.
No, there's videos of me doing that,
Right. So then you can't say you only done it to Funny, right? And I'm telling you that there's logs that I showed in that same video of you and Boone and other people having conversations talking about sending SWAT teams to TXT's house and that you found where he lived in New York, even though that was completely inaccurate back in 2016 in January. So, like, you guys have a history of criminal behavior and terrible, terrible shit. And
I mean, so does Boone, and so does...
I'm not talking to Boone. I know Boone knows that what he is, and Boone knows where I stand with him. What I'm saying is your group of friends, these individuals that you've hung out with, including yourself, have been actively involved repeatedly for years, on a monthly basis almost, of doing criminal behaviors and terrible, terrible shit to people for the stupidest of shit. With Avalanche, it was he unfollowed you on Skype, so your reaction to that was to dox him and his girlfriend and threaten to kill them and murder them violently, right? And that you knew where they lived and you were going to give it out to people to harm them in real life. With TXT, because you were mad at the SOK and he was still, I guess, a part of that, you guys thought it'd be good to dox him and then talk about sending a SWAT team to his house, right?
All just because we weren't... It was because me and Boone were mad that pretty much we weren't able to be part of the SOK.
Okay, so your reaction to not being allowed to join the Sons of Kojima, a DSP podcast about Darkside fucking Phil, was to look up at the amount of information you can on some of the members that you can, get their information, and then try to call the police and tell them that he's holding hostages so that they can come with the SWAT team in order to kick his fucking door in because he's jerking off and talking shit about Phil on a podcast. Do you understand when you say stuff like that and you do stuff like that and you have a history of doing that repeatedly on a monthly basis, that it makes it difficult for anyone to sit here and say, oh, he's just autistic, he's slow, he doesn't get it, blah, 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 especially when you culminate with a group of individuals that all enjoy doing the same shit?
I mean, I did kind of did something underhanded, and I went ahead and created a video just so that, because the SOK was gonna go ahead and UTech USA by saying, hey, we'll invite you to his podcast. So what I did was I tried to start shit by pretty much saying I tried to get the Big Cheese Crusaders after the Sons of Kojima and have them both invite.
So you've had more people, you're more antics involving Darkside fucking Phil and detractors and podcasts and other ridiculous shit because you couldn't join a podcast. It's stuff like that makes it difficult for people to recognize and understand, being sympathetic or empathetic to people, because some people would look at that and say, well, justice is served, karma's a bitch, and so forth. It's really difficult to grasp where any empathy or where you're coming from when you have behaviors of criminality, and you want to try to see people physically harmed in real life for stupid shit on the internet.
Or pretty much, just people infight with each other and cause that or something.
Right, infighting's fine. You can argue on the internet all the time, but it's one step past that when you decide to plan operations to find out where these people live and try to hurt them either emotionally, financially, or physically, with maybe even using a SWAT team to do it for you, right? We're not even talking about me, right? You didn't like the fact that I did a stream recently about Brightside Viking and on his thread, and so you and Nuclear thought it'd be great to flag the shit out of my channel and file false copyright claims against my channel and take it down, which it's obviously up.
Nuclear was the one that flagged your Twitch. It wasn't me, though.
Okay, whatever. The point is that you guys go around doing really fucked up things, and there's tons of history on it. Everyone knows this. And then and you want us to feel bad when you say, or